Okay, so keen on doing this this podcast Zoom chat today with Jordan Helyer of Helyer Strength. Obviously, for our members, Ion, very recognisable figure around the place. I know a very highly thought person and coach. So it would be good just to get to know you a bit better, George, for everyone at the gym, but also for a wider field as well. I think the way strength sports is on the up, and the interest around the training methods is certainly really popular. And I think an insight into your background, your coaching, programming, beliefs, philosophies would be really interesting for people to listen to. So. Just to kick things off, for those that don't know, George's a competitive powerlifter. In terms of his total is 775 kilos, phenomenal for a sub 100 kilo competitor. Squat 300 kilos, bench 157.5, and then a 317.5 deadlift, which is pretty impressive. So let's just go through your routine at the moment, probably just to kick things off, George. Obviously, in this period of time, the last couple of weeks, what have you been doing with your time to fill your days?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Firstly, but the routine's been a bit different for sure, as it is for everyone. But yeah, for now, mate, I'm just trying to get up at the same sort of times as I have been, so nice and early, just pre 6 a.m. Do a bit of reading first. Could be on anything related to powerlifting, strength, or even just something fictional. And then I'll have breakfast. Fortunate enough to have some of the equipment from Ion, so I'm able to still get my gym work in, which is brilliant. I can still squat, bench, and deadlift through this time. Cool. And then having lunch, walking the dog, which is lovely, and then a bit of personal development then. And then if I have any time, I'll watch some TV and try and unwind a little bit before bed. But yeah, it's a definite different routine to what I have been doing normally.
Yeah, but a good opportunity, like we spoke about previously, in terms of just from a coaching perspective as well, just linking up with other coaches, some good opportunities to watch some webinars as well and get involved from that side of things, just to really, again, impact your style of coaching, your beliefs. So obviously, when we can get back to things, it's going to be a win-win for everyone at Ion as well, no doubt. Just to move things forward, George, just give people just a brief background about yourself, quite a unique background in terms of your sporting achievements and talents, and how you've moved obviously into the world of powerlifting.
Yeah, so my background in sport is tennis, funnily enough. So I started playing tennis at 12, played my first competition at 14, and then was Welsh champion from under 16s up to men's, and then through that period then just took the sport really seriously. Started dropping subjects in school to allow me to go out of school and play more tennis and get my program to a point where I could compete with the best. From there then, when I left school, I turned pro. I played only low level events just because the financial stream in tennis is it's a lot different to other sports. You have to self-fund yourself, and when you're traveling nationally and internationally, the prize money is still less than the expenditure for the week, so you don't really reap that much reward. So it's very tough in the bottom of the pile of low level tennis. So I quit quite early and then went into coaching. And I've been coaching tennis then for 10 years. And then along with that, then found the passion with the gym work and started to do some more courses related to strength and conditioning. And then from there, then found powerlifting.
I mean, as a tennis player, was strength and conditioning a big part of your preparation on court?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially towards the end, when I was from 16 upwards, is when I really found a passion in the gym. We had quite a rigid program, and we had to follow it in our own time as well as supervised. And I just found that I was probably one of the individuals that was more motivated to put in the effort into the gym work. And then that just put me in good stead, really, for when I finished playing tennis and found powerlifting, because I found that the similarities in the two sports is that they're both individual sports, so you can like put in the effort without relying on other people. And more so with powerlifting, you don't need anyone else to train with per se. So with tennis, you need someone of equal quality or better than you to like spar with. And if you don't have that, you're never going to improve at a rate in which someone that does have that. Hence why like tennis academies and stuff are so popular now, and they're flooding with players. But with powerlifting and with just gym in general, it's like you can go there, you can put a solid session in, you can be quite mindful of what you're doing. And if you put in the effort there, you'll reap the benefits with or without, training partners or anyone else.
Yeah. With just in terms of that transition, so I guess that's probably an interesting thing to touch on, George. Like, used it myself from rugby into coaching. Very similar situation for yourself. How easy did you find that transition from professional tennis player into the world of coaching? Did you feel that there was a big void in your life, certainly such a young age, to give up, well, not to give up, but just to move into that coaching role and not not be competing on the elite stage as such? Did you feel that there was a void in your life during that period of time?
Tough question. So when I stopped playing as an individual and traveling as an individual, I still competed for the county. So South Wales is a really, really strong county for tennis. You have some really strong players. So when I quit as an individual and stopped traveling and then I started coaching more primarily, I was still able then to compete for the county. And we were in Group 2, Group 1 in these events. So I was still able to play quite a high level of tennis. When I stopped playing as an individual and traveling and, funding it all myself, I found that I was able to then coach, use the qualities of what I gathered and all the expertise I gathered from playing, then obviously topping that up with the coaching qualifications. I found like I had quite a niche bit of information that I could give players from experiencing, by seeing it firsthand, by competing and also gathering the information from the courses. So I could do that, and then I could still play a little bit and still do the county stuff, doing doubles and singles and representing South Wales. So I found that it was quite a nice transition, like coming away from competing full time. It wasn't that I was competing all tennis and then all of it was just stopped. I had like a slow transition out of it.
So then from there, at what point, powerlifting and coaching powerlifting, competing in powerlifting has probably become, a big part of your life the past 4 years, past 3-4 years?
Yeah, for the last 3 years for sure.
So what did you feel, because that transition, I've obviously known you well for the last 5-6 years, and seeing that transition that you've made, and certainly your development as a coach and your knowledge has been phenomenal over the past few years. Just if you can, George, just talk us about that. Obviously still very dominant in coaching tennis, but that real transition into powerlifting. What was it that really grasped you? First, probably foremost as a competitor, getting into the competition side of things, to actually then developing your own powerlifting club, excelling with your online programming as well. Just that sort of journey. Just touch on your journey there.
Yeah. So like I said, I've been coaching tennis for about 10 years. I've been lifting weights through that period, but then found powerlifting pretty much through Dan Edwards actually, and Gus from Dragon. They sort of exposed me to it because I was going to the gym there, and once I got exposed to it, I get a little bit obsessed with information. So I got given this sport that was all new to me, and it's quite an underground looking sport, which already appealed to me. I was like, oh, this is quite backyard. This is cool. Looked into it a little bit more, and then I was like, oh, actually, this is something that I really want to get into. And then over the period of those years, then I just slowly found myself becoming more and more passionate in in strength and conditioning, and then more specifically in powerlifting, then the tennis started to take more of a back seat. And we're at the point now where the majority of my income is through powerlifting and helping people within strength, whether it be PT, online, like you say, or the powerlifting club. And then my passion has gone more and more there. And ever since then, I've started to get more into powerlifting. I've just been literally searching for literature, resources, individuals that are more knowledgeable than I am, and then just trying to sponge everything from them.
And that's where, for me personally, it's, obviously good friends, but something that I, respect massively and always do when I see other coaches. And it's something that I always look to do for myself is, the importance of just almost always hunting, always trying to look to improve. Or, I think the danger in coaching is when, you think you know everything.
Yeah.
And I think once you get to that point, that's your time done as a coach, because I think there's always something you can learn from other people, other environments that you can, that you can implement into your own programming, your own coaching style. And there's always scope to get better. And, you're always someone that jumps out at me that, the amount you spend, your time, your spare time, you fill your days with is looking very much for that development perspective. And, I'm fortunate enough that, within rugby, I get exposed to a lot of, what I classify as world-class strength and conditioning coaches. But, the level that I hold yourself as a powerlifting coach, as a strength coach, is right up there. And, I think, we're so fortunate at Ion to have, your skill set there, mate. I mean, it only seems like yesterday, was it 3-4 years ago now, when, I remember we put on a initial powerlifting meet at the gym, and it was tied in with a time that you were about to max out. And I remember you texting me saying, I can see you got the lifting comps going on. Is there any chance I can jump in? And then the rest's history from there, really. You took the reins, and it's been amazing to see what's built up now over the past 3 years. And to have a powerlifting club that, more often than not, when you start the blocks, we've got 20 plus people looking to sign up and get involved. And the core group now you've got there, you've really created that culture and that togetherness within them, and seeing how some of those guys have developed has been phenomenal. I think, again, what aligns us very well, and we enjoy having conversations about it, which I wanted you to go into a little bit now, George, is just your coaching and programming philosophy, your beliefs. I think we're quite aligned, with that, and how the concentration and the focus being on the basics, the movement, competency, and for anyone that knows you as a lifter, how technically excellent you are, and it really does transfer in terms of your coaching style as well. So if you can, George, just talk us through a bit about your beliefs as a coach and from a programming perspective.
Yeah, so this is just really, really simple, in my opinion. And I think just understanding the simplicity is the most important thing. So basically, my rule number one is just technique over everything. Regardless of what you can lift, I don't care if you can squat 300 kilos. I don't care if you can squat 60 kilos. I'd be more impressed with someone squatting 60 kilos really well than I would be with someone squatting 300 kilos like shit. Because I just find that, like, long-term gain just comes from technique, not just from an injury preventative standpoint, but also for just progress, resilience, and just longevity in the sport. So yeah, the rule number one is technique over everything. And I just think that if people don't have adequate technique, or what we perceive as adequate technique, then they just need to take steps back. And if you take those couple of steps back to iron out, hip stability, or your breathing and bracing, your upper back tightness, whatever it may be, if you take those steps back, rectify those problems, then the steps forward will be considerable.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, and that's where, going back to a rugby perspective, it's something that I know we've spent a lot of time over. I've been fortunate that I've had the same group of players now for a good 4 or 5 years. and just being able to see their capabilities in the gym. And I think, rugby perspective at times it can be about chasing numbers, the technical competency. And I'm proud to say that the way the boys move, certainly within the gym, is a big part of what we want to around. I think that's exactly same ideas, same beliefs that we have. Other things that we've spoken about, George, just the consistency, and that the importance of patience within a program. Do you want to just touch on that?
Yeah. So one more thing I'll touch on is just basically having that purpose with your training. So creating a plan and then committing to the goal, and then just allowing for that to take place. I think that's really, really important. You got to warm up with a purpose, and just feeling that you got everything set in place with a purpose. What do you say about like technique and people rushing? I think you got to slow things down a little bit. Don't expect gains to come from block to block. So if you say like, oh, we're setting up this strength block, for example, by the end of this 4-week strength block, I want to do 100 kilos for 5. And then all of a sudden, the whole purpose of that block is on a number. So your objective of the block is all number driven. So it's outcome related, instead of having it more based around why is that so important for you to squat 100 kilos for 5? Like, what is more important in there? Maybe trying to become more like rigid in your hip position in the squat, and then let's just allow the program to take its course. I think a lot of people are really concerned about chasing numbers, and then loads of things unfold within that period that become problematic over time. So what happens is they'll start training a system which is inefficient because the numbers are too aggressive. So you said 100 for 5, whereas 90 for 5 would probably be adequate. And then you get a lot more out of your training in the long term because you'd be training a more efficient system. But because you've got the idea in your head that you want to squat 100 for 5, everything's too heavy. So you're training an insufficient system. And then that's going to take a considerable amount of time then to rectify in the future.
And I think that's a really key point, just for again, it doesn't matter whether it's professional athletes, it doesn't matter whether it's competition within sports or general public. And this is something certainly that we try and hammer this message home as much as possible within the gym. The importance of what you touched on to start with, just that movement efficiency first and foremost, trying to encourage people to work through full ranges of motions, the benefits from a strength development, but also an injury prevention, becoming more robust. And that's in essence what we want to do, is trying to encourage people to see it as the long-term picture, and be patient with it, as opposed to just going after those those fast results.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that people can do like a 12-week training cycle. They come onto the powerlifting club. We've seen it before. I'll use Jenny as an example. She did a 6-week little peaking block with me. She had a 75 kilo 1RM, and then she went up to 100 kilos in 6 weeks. That's like unbelievable progress. And I didn't think she'd be able to do that, and she did. But then that doesn't mean that in another 6 weeks she's going to chuck another like 20 odd kilos on her squat, and so on and so on and so on. And it's not to the point where like every time you do a 12-week cycle, you do hypertrophy strength peaking. I'll put 10 kilos on my squat, hypertrophy strength peaking, another 10 kilos. It doesn't work like that. And as you do progress over time, and as you do get more advanced, and your body does start to adapt to the stimulus a lot more, it becomes a lot more resistant to the gains. And that's where you need to sort of detach yourself from numbers and sort of attach yourself more to the process of the training, enjoying the training, and be more attached to how you move. And like we say, like in the warm-ups, your warm-up should have a purpose. Sorry, I'm going to go off a tangent a little bit here, but your warm-up should have a purpose. What do you get out of a warm-up as an individual? Are you just doing monster walks because that activates your glutes and you want to activate your glutes? Or are you working on something specific that's going to make your mechanics in the squat better? Are you doing dead bugs to put your rib position in a better position in which then you can apply it to the bar? Or are you just moving a dead bug because your coach said do a dead bug? So it should all have relevance. And then once you start programming your head to be more like that and having the relevance, your warm-up has structure, then your session will have structure, and then the outcome goal shouldn't be about a number, it should be about the objective that you set yourself. Does that make sense?
100%. And I think that's, again, the art of coaching, isn't it? In terms of, you look at, you know, what you deliver from a programming perspective, George, and, you know, the cues you use. You know, it's a very simplistic approach, but that's what I think the skill in coaching is being able to take all that information and being able to translate it then into your program, into the people that you're coaching. So it makes it an easy to understand method. Something that I really like what you're doing at the moment. So if you're not following Jordan on Instagram via his Helyer Strength account, give it a follow, because he's doing a week's training. You're going to carry on with it, but you know, what I think's been really good is just in giving people an idea in terms of the prep time going into your workouts. How like you just said, there's real rationale behind what you're doing, the drills that you're doing. The drills, you know, could be classified. It could be, say, you know, they're pretty simple in terms of what you're doing, but it's really understanding the why behind, and you know, how that you're performing those movements. It's not like you've got 30 different routines that you're doing. You're keeping it to a small bank, and you're doing them, you know, focusing on position, focusing on movement, that's allowing you then to move on into your session. So yeah, I think that's something that's been and something I really think can benefit so many people. Just moving things along. What would you classify as, you know, big influences in your career in terms of, certainly within the world of powerlifting, George? You know, from a coaching, from a competition perspective, from a competing perspective.
Tough question. There's loads of people that influence me, and there's loads of coaches that I take things from. But if I was going to just point at one person, it'd probably be Sebastian Oreb, the Australian strength coach. And I know that you and I have seen his work firsthand when we've done his level 1, level 2 strength system qualification. But pardon?
Loves a cup of peppermint tea.
He loves a peppermint tea. Not a coffee, a peppermint.
When you went out and bought him one, teacher's pet.
I know. I was gonna have a coffee, and then because he had a peppermint tea, I thought, oh, I better have one as well. The reason why I think I find him to be my biggest influencer is just basically he's just really, really simple with his philosophy. So again, like everything we've said, he prioritizes technique, he prioritizes the load, like selecting good load. But he just doesn't try and reinvent the wheel. He just uses cues that are like, you know, very, very simple. They make sense. He doesn't try and say something that another coach doesn't say to separate himself. He just does the basics. He expresses them really, really well. And I just find that is the best way to get information across. He's not trying to be, you know, this new strength coach that's got these tricks up his sleeve that's going to put 20 kilos on your squat that another coach can't, because we all know that it's just not about that. And his progress as an athlete, I think, is really admirable as well, because he started as like an 80 kilo, we'll say weak man, comparatively to how he is now. And now he's like 110 kilos. He squats over 350 kilos and like benches like 235 kilos. Like the guy's a mutant. And to know that his top end strength is so great and it's like elite, then when you watch him train, when he's not in a comp prep, his load is ridiculous. Like this guy's at Ion lifting more than him for like sets of like 10 or whatever in the back squat. He will literally strip his load down so much to 30%. And then, you know, people will argue that, oh yeah, that's not driving any adaptation. And he's right, he's not trying to drive adaptation. He's trying to ingrain technique again, which again comes back to his like number one principle of like technique is everything. Yeah. So I think that's someone that really like puts his point across with his philosophy, and then really like walks the walk as well as talking the talk. So yeah, that guy is my number one.
Yeah, and I think that's another big part of it, isn't it? In terms of from a coaching perspective, I personally do very much believe that, you know, it's having that personal experience with things as well that helps to form that relationship with the athlete as well, or the person you're coaching. It's them having the confidence, in terms of you're talking through experience, both from an education, from a learning perspective, but also implementing that yourself. And I think that's a very powerful tool to have, to really appreciate what your client, what your lifter is experiencing. So I think that's a big point in terms of, for you, George, your goals and aspirations as an athlete in the world of powerlifting going forward. What have you got coming up the next few months? Obviously, with what's going on now, it's probably stagnated things a little bit.
Yeah. So I was meant to have Nationals in May and then the Irish Pro in August, but Nationals has been postponed right to the end of the year, and the Irish Pro now, which was the priority meet for me this year, has been postponed to a date to be confirmed. So they're anticipating it being September, October, but I think what is going to happen to me this year now is I'm just going to pull out of the British, and I'm just going to put all my eggs in one basket and do the Irish, and put a big performance there, because that's my first international meet, or meet with international lifters, and I think it's considered to be quite a big competition. Plus my coach, his name's Thomas Lilly. He's from the Gold Coast in Australia. He's actually coming over to that meet. He has a couple of lifters there, so he's going to come over and handle me. So that's going to be pretty big. But yeah, in terms of that meet, the goal is to total between 820 and 840.
That down, have in terms of break down that across the lifts. What sort of
So I haven't told anyone these goals. I wasn't going to, but I might as well. So we've discussed it, and this is not based on me number chasing. I know we discussed earlier about people getting attached to numbers. We're not attached to these numbers at all. These are just goals, just so we can work from a top down manner and understand what numbers I should be hitting block to block. And if I'm not strong enough to hit those numbers, then the goals will get revised. But basically, we're looking to exceed 330 kilos on the squat, bench press around 170, give or take. And then the biggest change we see is on my deadlift. We've made some technical adjustments with the way I basically put tension through my hips and become more patient from the floor. So with these technical changes, I've responded really, really well. So the goals for the deadlift now is between or around 340.
Wow.
That's
really impressive, mate. Fair play.
Yeah, we can all say gold numbers though without actually hitting them. So we'll see what happens when that meet comes around.
But I know, in fairness to you, Jordan, how when you've got an idea in your head and you're working towards something, you do everything in your power to get there. So I've got no doubt that those numbers will be there or thereabouts. In terms of just starting to wrap things up, just in terms of your coaching and your business goals, obviously, like you said, you've touched on what you're doing day to day, but I know you've recently launched your Helyer Strength website as well. Talk us through just a little bit about where you're looking to take things.
Yeah, so Helyer Strength website has gone live, hellierstrength.com. The main reason for that was I just wanted to give people, become accessible to people with different financial limitations. So I do 3 different coaching packages, just so I can try and reach 3 different scopes of people, and then obviously depending on what they want is dependent on what sort of service they'll receive. But yeah, with Helyer Strength, the vision I have now, I want to grow it more online. Yeah. I feel that with my coaching experience, especially with 10 years of tennis and getting more hands-on now with powerlifting coaching, I feel that I have quite a good eye of helping people and cueing people, and I don't really need to see them in person. So I do like to have that online scope, because I feel like I can coach almost as well online as I do in person. So I want to grow the online business, and I also want to try and grow the powerlifting club, but not so much in numbers. I don't want more people attending the club, but I want the club to expand to compete. Yeah. So I think my goal with that is I want to have 80% of the people attending to be affiliated with a federation, and then to go on to compete. You know, we have some fantastic guys at Ion now in the powerlifting club. We have a lot of ladies, which is amazing. And
that's certainly something that's been really recognisable, isn't it, over the past couple of years, with, you know, the growth of strength training or strength sports, but also how great it's also been to see, you know, the uptake certainly within Ion and by the females as well. Like, it's, you know, I think the perception for many years was powerlifting, the big hench, you know, male dominated sport, and now seeing, you know, a large number being females and seeing how, you know, how well they're doing in it has been phenomenal. And I think it's just encouraging more and more, you know, males, females to get involved with it. And it's to the point, obviously, we're at, certainly with the last block, where there was such high demand for it, you had to put a cap on the number, and we probably could have, you know, the club itself could have probably, you know, sold out twofold, couldn't it? Or you know, with the popularity of it. But I think certainly, you know, the uptake by both genders is awesome to see. And I think, you know, certainly with the way the fitness industry is going now, I think you're just going to continue to see, you know, sports like Olympic lifting, powerlifting becoming more and more dominant, and you know, people wanting to get into it. And I think that's probably a good way just to start wrapping things up in terms of what would probably be your advice to regular gym goers that are looking at probably, you know, getting into the world of powerlifting, Olympic lifting, you know, from what they're currently doing. Are there any bits of advice that you could maybe could offer?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd say is get a coach, not from a biased opinion now. But I would say get a coach, because I think it's a really good resource as well. It just allows you to ask questions. You know, if you're doing a training session and something's not feeling right, you've got a coach to be accountable to, and then maybe they can give you information that will, you know, stick with you and help you move better. So I think getting a coach is really good. And it just means that you can, like, learn as you go, and you have that accountability as well. So I think that is a good one to have. But away from that, I think the main thing is just to trust the process. It sounds a little bit cheesy, but just detach yourself from numbers, and just try and focus on, like, what you're trying to get out of it. And I think that's especially through beginners, because beginners, as we all know, they don't move as well, and they don't know how they're moving. So I think if you detach yourself from numbers and give yourself the training objectives that we discussed earlier, then you're going to have a lot more success further down the line, for sure. Yeah. And another thing I see quite a lot, and I think it's not at Ion, but you see it linked with CrossFit quite a lot, is people straining. So every time they, like, squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, they strain to like an RPE 10, and then they'll go to like max effort, and then they think that's the only way to get strong. Yeah. Obviously, the problems that we discussed there is that obviously technique is gonna break down. You're not going to be moving well. You're going to be training a system that's inefficient. Your body's putting itself in the strongest position for now, but it's not the strongest position for you in the future to make those long-term gains. So you don't need to be straining to an RPE 10. You can lift sub-maximally and have reps in reserve, like multiple reps in reserve, not just one. You can have 2, 3, 4 reps in the reserve. And if you're moving well and moving better, then you're going to get more out of it, and just accumulate the volume. You don't need to be doing like one hard set of 5 and then another hard set of 5 and then be done. Do like 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of 5 with 3, 4 reps in reserve, and you'll reap the benefits from that a lot more. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say then as well is just to be around like-minded people. So get into a gym or get into a club where they have that environment where everyone has like the same sort of vision of you. We're all trying to, become better. We're all trying to become better movers. We're trying to become better athletes, trying to become stronger. And if you're around those like-minded people that are going to motivate you, you're going to be, you're going to be in the right place to keep you motivated and to keep you accountable.
I love it, mate. I think that's, and I think that's a really good note to finish on, just because, I think Token spoken about programming, coaching, but it's also that motivator as well. And, there's nothing like it being in a group environment, part of a team, to really push you and, help you to exceed all your real, your goals and aspirations. And, I think what you've spoken about there, just to sum it up, the importance of, your movement, having movement efficiency, technical competency, consistency and trust within the program, rather than the programming hopping that so many people do. I think
for sure
the patience is so key. And as you said, it's this, people like yourself, coaches out there. I think we're fortunate in Cardiff. I really do. I think there's a lot of good facilities that, offer some good coaching. And I just, encourage people to really open their arms to it and, to take things on board with what George said today. And, just to enjoy training. Hope everyone's staying fit and healthy. And, make sure you check Jordan out on HelyerStrength.com. And obviously on Instagram, Helyer Strength. And if you're interested in any more questions, then DM him or drop him an email. And mate, appreciate your time. Get back to the tin this afternoon, no doubt. And I look forward to catching up soon, bud.
Lovely. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.